was able to plug in with a number of people in the community, and we've really put together a great team, not only here, but throughout the entire community. I mean, we've been working with the who's who of January 6th right now. All the guys who've been doing massive investigations, and we're putting all those together. So we're going to have a blueprint for the committee as we go forward. We're going to have a blueprint for the FBI. We're going to have a blueprint for the DOJ. So we're going to be able to basically hand them on a silver platter a present for the administration, quite frankly, and that's going to be the ability to prove judicial malfeasance, to prove prosecutorial misconduct. So let's be honest, just flat out lying from the FBI, the DOJ, and police officers on the stand. So we're excited about that. And to that end, what Adam's been doing here is he came along. I'll let him talk about it, but we found out that this guy had some brains. The guy's a nuke tech, all right? So he's sat down, and without prompting by anyone, he kind of figured out, let's go ahead and run this stuff through AI and see what it spits out. And he's been hard at work. He was up, 3:30 last night? Here we're back at it again.
Yeah, thereabouts.
All right. So tell the folks what you've been doing, Adam.
So a lot of people thought that it was near impossible to go through the entire caseload, but that's not true, because now we have AI that can read thousands and thousands of pages and document. And if you want to step over here to the office, I'll show you where we do the work. So by using a framework that we've worked very hard to come up with here over at Division for Civil Liberties, we found a way to isolate prosecutorial and judicial malfeasance and bring some accountability to bear on these corrupt judges and prosecutors. There's so much text that a lot of people thought that they might get lost there in the stack, but I assure you, we are hunting it down, and we're calling on everybody. If you have your transcripts, especially your sentencing transcripts, your bond hearings, we would love it if you could call in, text in, email in, and get those documents over to us, and we will process them for you and get a copy, with the overarching goal of being able to put them all together in a nice, neat package so that we can hand it off to the Trump administration, who, let's face it, is we all have to thank for being here today. Because of those pardons, I was able to get my life back. Mr. Mock was able to get his life back. And we feel very strongly that we need to use that for the betterment of all. And we do that here by sifting through the documents page by page. And we need your help, because without the documents, we're not able to finish this work. So if you know any other Jan 6ers, if you are a Jan 6ers, we would love it if you could contact us, get your documents in, and we'll process them as quick as we can, and we'll help bring some accountability to this corrupt system that we would all love to see.
There was a lot of prayer, and it was actually a lot of good-hearted Christian people that helped me get through. It turns out there is actually an elderly MAGA Underground Railroad of people that were willing to support us and help us.
That's fantastic.
And my brother ended up being my tech guy in the chair. Don't go here, go there. I found you a contact. You know, this is what I heard from our older brother, Adrian. Stay one step ahead of this. My older brother had actually reached out and was contacting my ex-girlfriends and my business competitors, and was actually making a cross-country network trying to track me down and get information, working with the FBI.
Wow.
And like I said, I come from the glass industry, and it's maybe 90% ultra liberal.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the medium. I didn't care for the politics, and it wasn't me.
Who knew?
A stolen election, a government crackdown, and a man who became America's most hunted artist. I'm Ann Vandersteel, and you have gone from the war zone to the twilight zone. Welcome to Steel News. On January 6, 2021, Adam Villarreal showed up as a witness to history. But in the blink of an eye, the state, yep, you know that proverbial state, they branded him a domestic terrorist. Oh, goodness, I know that one very well myself. Betrayed by his own blood, tracked by federal agencies, and pushed into the shadows by a system that punishes dissent more than crime. Today, this afternoon, live, we are bringing you the untold story. Well, it's been told a little bit of a very free man now who was turned into a fugitive, an artist. He's an entrepreneur and a patriot forced to go underground just for standing too close to the truth. From the fiery aftermath of Minneapolis to the silent tyranny sweeping in the heartland, Adam's journey is going to reveal the dark underbelly of our nation, our beautiful America, the republic that is somewhere under the shell of this corporate structure at war with all of us. Yet we are a nation at war with its own people. And this isn't just a January 6th story. It's a warning, it's a testimony, and it's a reckoning. If you think you know what happened on J6, think again. Joining us now live and unfiltered outside the White House, where he comes and does a show regularly, is Adam Villarreal. Adam, it is great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
And pleasure to see you today.
Yeah, listen, man, you are unbelievable because, I mean, I know what it was like to be a domestic terrorist in the open, traveling for 2 years with the TSA groping me to second base at least 6 times a week. But you were hunted like a real fugitive, and you managed to stay out of the grips of the DC gulag while your brothers and sisters in arms, you know, ended up in the gulag and fighting the good fight. And you also got the pardon. So I just want to hear from you. What's the exhale feel like right now as you stand in front of the White House?
Well, it's definitely a giant relief to be free again. I can't tell you the level of stress that my wife and I dealt with while we were looking over our shoulder at every moment. We got blackmailed by people. We've got betrayed several times. Various people found out about it. And then we were also fighting the liberal members of my family who were trying to coordinate and find information to turn us in. So it's been a wonderful time. It's been a hectic time, but we're both just glad to be free. And we actually decided to move to Washington, D.C. so we could pursue our activism.
I love it. I mean, talk about, you know, just up and throwing yourself into the very belly of the very beast that hunted you for 4 years like a dog, and to stand in front of the White House victorious as someone who is preaching the truth and has been a really critical member and beloved by the J6 community. I was on the phone with Suzanne Monk yesterday, and I told her I was actually it was this morning. No, it was yesterday. I talk to her all the time, and I said I'm interviewing you. She goes, "Oh my God, I love Adam. He's just the best." I said, "I know he's really a great guy." So I'm looking forward to getting to know you some more here so that everybody else can. But what's going on behind you? I hear a lot of noise. Is there some activity there that we should report on?
Yeah, I'm out in front of the White House, and I chose to do the show here where I usually do my show, 1600 Unscripted, because this is an excellent cross-section of America. You have groups from all over the world come here just to be in the iconic presence of the White House, to put their message out, to make their voices heard. And it's just a place that I feel like is an excellent platform to speak.
Well, it is an excellent platform. I'm actually going to see if I can pull up some of the work that you're doing on 1600 Unscripted while you're talking. But since you've been doing this show, prior to you deciding to get into this, what was it first like? When did you go back into DC? When was the first time you decided to step back into foreign territory? Because DC is not part of the Republic. What was that experience like for you and your wife?
So my wife and I made a decision when we found out about the pardons that were coming. That's when the Biden administration really ramped up. There were memos that were put out that anyone who was left needed to be hunted down. I got elevated to top 20, and we made a decision that as soon as we found out that we had to come directly to DC and have a little bit of defiance at the end, if we could show the American people that when your election is stolen, when your government is overtaken by corrupt and tyrannical politicians, even if it's small, you have to defy, if it's your voice, if it's your dollar. And so we ended up driving while we were still fugitives and waiting for the pardons to actually drop. And we took that photo that you can see on our website of us standing in front of the Capitol. So I was still wanted at that point. I ended up sending that photo to Jim Hoft over at Gateway Pundit, and he laughed and he said, "All right, well, let's roll, man." And that was kind of our start to the whole journey post-pardon.
Let's go ahead and get your website up. What's your address there?
Yeah, so it's homelandhousefoundation.com, and you can check us out there. We're all about continuing financial education and homesteading education for J6ers. We strongly believe that owning land is a very core part of restoring dignity and purpose and meaning to people's lives. It's something that's a hard asset. It's something that if they get into it, you can build on it, you can flip it. And we found a way through past statute of limitations, tax lien properties, and doing quiet title filings that we can teach people with a little bit of paperwork and just a little bit of investment, that you can get land for much cheaper than you normally could. This is legal. This is not our idea. We just assembled some educational materials, and we're trying to give it to people free of charge.
Oh my gosh, that is so fantastic. I mean, look, you have helped streamline the legal proceedings and looking at what they've done to J6ers by just using artificial intelligence, using it for good to fight a system of evil. But what you're doing with homelandhousefoundation.com is fantastic. I want to dive into that a little bit right now, because you're talking about using legal methods to basically take land that has been either abandoned or it's unpaid taxes or what have you, and turn it into a property that people can actually live in for patriots that have been basically had their freedoms usurped by the federal government. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How does that work? Oops, it looks like we may have lost Adam temporarily. We'll see if he can get back in here. Might need him to go back out and come back in. I want to bring up his website again, because I think this is fantastic. You know, the federal government is famous. Adam, if you can hear me, maybe go out and come back in the studio, because it looks like we may have lost your signal. The signal today has been terrible, by the way. My signal has gone in and out. I've been blurry on previous broadcasts, and I had to reset my modem at home today. I don't know what's going on. Could be there's a lot of stuff flying around the internet, as there usually is. So I'll hang on one second here. Let's see. We'll get him up there. Yeah. Pardon J6 hostage repost this stream. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for doing that. Please keep the repost going. I think Adam's going to go out and come back in. But while we're waiting for him to do that, let's just take a look at his website here, because I think this is fantastic. Their mission that he's talking about doing for restoring the American dream together. It's always been the American dream, as far as I can recall, to own a home. That's part of it. Apple pie, baseball, own a house, all that good stuff. And what we're seeing it's being eroded quickly, not only because of property taxes, but because of interest rates at this time. And let's talk about it. J6ers, liquidity is a problem for them. They've usually been bankrupted and wiped out, and they don't have anything. So the fact that he's starting this and doing it for free to help people is beautiful, because people's homes with families, that's your legacy, right? I mean, with any luck, I'll be able to leave my house to my children and so on and so forth. If they want to live in it, great. If they don't, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we're building our own legacy by trying to invest in things that we can live in and build equity, so that, we're trying to bestow it to the next generation. And what Adam is doing is the next generation of patriots. And these are the patriots that were just hunted like political dogs from this previous regime in power. Let me see if we've got Adam back in. Nope, he hasn't popped in yet. So looking at this together, Empowering Patriots for Tomorrow at Homeland House Foundation, he's talking about empowering J6 defendants by giving them educational resources for self-sufficiency, ensuring that every patriot has the opportunity to rebuild their lives and achieve land ownership. So, talking about land ownership, as he points out on his own website, that mission is rooted in American values, focused on independence and resilience. And they're going to equip people with the skills and support to create this lasting impact in their communities. Well, let's talk about the fact that land ownership in this country is not what it used to be. When you own property, you actually really don't own the land per se under your feet anymore. And if you want to drill into it, their government is forcing you to apply for permits. You're paying property tax, and you're still saying, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" You don't really have clear the land patent or the grant. That is what the original title is. They've now changed the wordsmithing and so forth. But let me get Adam back in here. Hey, Adam, we lost you there for a second, buddy. Can you hear me?
I absolutely can. I'm so sorry about that. We had somebody come behind us, and they hit the equipment.
Oh, been there, done that. I've been live streaming and had my tripod knocked over I don't know how many times, despite the fact the person that keeps knocking it over, I keep telling them I'm streaming right now. They look at me, oh, okay. And then they, run into it again. It's like, it's live TV. It's, stuff happens, right? It is what it is. So
Absolutely.
I was talking about your website because I think it's such a beautiful tribute to people who have been assaulted by their own government that's supposed to be defending their own rights. And I'm talking about property rights and land patents. You talk about legal. What you're doing is legal because there's legal and lawful. So you're using the system of legal fiction to provide people an opportunity to own a house, right? Walk us through that process. Can you kind of give us some more color on that, please?
I absolutely can. So this has existed for a long time, and there's lots of resources online. It's called land flipping. And your goal is basically to go to the county and find lots that have been fallow for many years. They're a tax liability for the county. They're not generating any revenue. They're not bringing any tourism in. And you can make a deal with them. Hey, this is past statute of limitations on the taxes, so I don't have to pay them. And I would like you to turn it over to me, and I am going to do something with it that's going to enrich the community. Normally, they're very amenable to that idea, and they'll give you 30 days that you have to post in the paper. And once you post in the paper, if no one comes to claim, you try to look for fallow land in small counties where there's not going to be a lot of competition. If nobody comes to claim that, then you're the only person bidding at the auction. You can then bid the county minimum. A lot of times it's $1. You pay the fees, and then a judge awards you a deed to that land. That title is not clear, though, however. You have to go to a law firm, and you have to get a quiet title filing. That's not that much money. Usually it's in the range of $1,000 to $3,000, depending on where you live. But if you do your due diligence and you find a parcel like this that's in the pathway of, say, an Amazon distribution center about to be built, or a data center for AI that's about to be built, and you just think a little bit farther in the future, this is a great thing for your children, because you look at what happened outside of Austin. Raw land there for 1 acre can go upwards of $100,000 a parcel, and it's increasing now that more technology companies are moving there. So if you can just be a little far thinking and do this process, we'll help you every step of the way. We don't charge anything. We run solely on donations. There's not even any way for us to collect money from people that we help. You too can invest in your children's future. Imagine if not only of selling these things once they accrue in value, but to build your homestead there, to give your children and grandchildren something that they can inherit.
That's just incredibly extraordinary. And it's a beautiful gift. It really is. Because again, you spent 4 years on the run from the FBI. Let's be clear. The FBI was chasing you. And for what? And for what? So that we could come to this point today and just, this is the kind of gift that an unconstitutional, never chartered agency bestowed upon the American people to completely upend using the mainstream media to create a narrative that was false. And yet you've risen above all of that, despite you even had family members who tried to turn you in and said, I'm going to continue to do the greater good for humanity. Adam, have you ever thought about running for office? Because what you're doing is truly a public servant's line of work. You're creating a true public service.
I try to serve as much as I can. My wife and I consider ourselves very blessed. I've got to thank God. I don't think two people by themselves can fight the entire FBI on the top 20 list. It's something more, and I feel like I would be remiss in not trying to serve the public. Some people have asked about that. It's something my family and I have to discuss. But I'll always be here serving the public, whether or not it's in public office or whether it's as a private citizen, because we live in a momentous time. You're seeing a two-tiered system of justice rolling out in our country. You see, everyone knows something's wrong. You look around you and you see older folks, what the country used to be and the things that you remember. And you look around at the deaths of despair and the destruction of infrastructure now. How did we get here? We have to take a real hard look at ourselves and ask, as Kennedy told us, what can I do to help the country, not hold your hand out.
That's exactly right. What can you do to actually help the country and not hold your hand out is 100% right. I love that perspective because not enough people have it, specifically not enough people in Congress have it. And that's the part that I find so unbelievably sad, that we're sitting here right now. Today we have members of Congress that voted in a giant omnibus, and I understand why they did it. But what I'm struggling with, frankly, is what we're seeing in this omnibus that seemingly is stripping more rights away from people. Have you dug into this giant, big, beautiful bill in all of its glory to find any of the poison pills in there that I keep finding and that are making me a lot concerned?
A little bit. I defer to work for people such as yourself who have really been tearing into it. What I think I can contribute is I work a lot with AI, and I work a lot in system modalities and algorithms. And I think one of the most powerful things that the average person can do is understand how they're being manipulated, how they're being deceived. Because if you could isolate the mechanism, then they become less and less effective, and you're no longer on the back foot. It's easy to get mired in details. Oh, well, you didn't quote that citation exactly precisely on page 895, so we discredit you as a voice. That's a game. Now, if you could understand, hey, we put these big bills in, they get massive omnibus support, politicians and money flow in, they attach riders, and they're manipulating you by dangling things that you would like to hear in front of you that later get removed from the bill, and all you get is more of what you don't want at scale and volume. I think if the American people understood better how that is being done to them, they would be more inspired, more galvanized to be able to fight back. Now they just feel lost, and when you feel lost, you're not particularly ready to fight back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Some of the stuff that was in the big, beautiful bill was respect to Article 3 courts. And I know this was one of the most underreported aspects of the bill. But essentially, they're stripping the rights to Article 3 courts for U.S. citizens in certain instances. And to me, this sort of was a glaring opportunity for people to go, well, why would they take away our most fundamental right of a court of equity? And I know you understand the difference probably between equity and an Article 1 court, which is an administrative court of law, which is really what they use all over the country today, which was weaponized against everybody, and it still is. Why would they want to strip the ability for you to go get equity and remedy in an Article 3 court if they didn't want you to kind of pay attention to, well, it's sort of like with the open borders and all of these benefits that have been given to these illegals. These benefits are far superior than a lot of the benefits the American taxpayer has received. For instance, just the paychecks these illegals were getting at $2,200 a month, that eclipsed a lot of Social Security checks for people who worked for 40, 50 years here. So I ask you, is there a benefit to being a U.S. citizen in hindsight, or would it be better to just remove yourself from that system so that you can definitively say, I'm not standing in your jurisdiction at all, and therefore your rules of craziness don't apply to me? I don't know where you are with any of that. Have you looked into that aspect?
I think it's like a ratchet, and it just keeps getting tighter and tighter around your neck. And whenever people are starting to get traction on trying to understand the issues, you have another distraction that comes out. We're moving into a renter economy. People are being taken incrementally away from their sovereignty, and the way that is done primarily is financially. You do not have the wherewithal, the resources, or the energy, frankly, to fight back if you are primarily concerned with if your kids have food on the table. By taking away that financial security, you chip away at people's sovereignty. And I think it's something we directly need to address. We don't need to be a renter economy. We don't need to have major corporations coming into neighborhoods and lobbying heavily, taking them over. So large multinationals own huge tracts of residential land and housing. It's not a direction that America needs to be going in, and I don't think anybody wants it. We just are being railroaded into it.
So how would you turn it around?
I think we have to have accountability. One of the things that I focus on with AI work is how easy it can be for anybody to have grassroots defiance of your local politicians. I'm helping several people with case research where they give me a massive amount of documents, several gigabytes worth, and I have the AI go through them. What is this corrupt practices that these local people are engaging in? You want to take a shot at guys like Boasberg? They have protection. You want to take a shot at the main people in D.C.? Well, you got a fight on your hands. But you know who doesn't have that level of protection? These corrupt grassroots people that think they can hide behind walls of paperwork. It's in 10,000 pages. Nobody else will find it. Wrong. And I'm here to tell you, friends, that you too, if you just get a little bit of prompt engineering under your belt, and that's another thing that Homeland House does, contact us and we will give you scripts. You can go after these corrupt judges, these corrupt politicians. You can be asking questions and compiling evidence that you can take to your local DAs.
I love this. Our organization, American Made Action, actually has on our Take Action button notices and affidavits in various areas of emphasis: child protective services, judicial tyranny, vaccines. And so we are giving people tools so that they can bombard their local, state, and federal representatives, including the Department of Justice, right? Because the people need to have their grievances redressed. We need to be heard, and we need to give them legal tools to be heard, because the only thing that these people understand is legal fiction. And so we're going to give them legal fiction because they operate in legal fiction. But what I love about what you're doing is you're actually now giving them bigger tools to use artificial intelligence, something that terrorizes a lot of people because they think somebody's going to put a chip in your brain or whatever, which could happen if the wrong people get into power. But you're giving them tools so that they can weaponize this massive machine learning against the very system that wants that machine learning to rule our lives, as what's said in that big, beautiful bill. You know, they want to basically have AI where we are no longer allowed to build our own AI past a certain amount of size and scope because it could trump their AI, and they're afraid of that. So I think what you're doing is excellent. And I think, you know, we have very little time before what you're doing is going to be allowed to do at mass scale, because they're going to say, oh, nope, you're now going above and beyond what your scope of AI use can be. And the federal government is now usurping your ability to do so. So sit back down, Mr. or Mrs. Citizen of the state of whatever, and just shut up and take your lumps.
Exactly right. And this is why wherever I go, I always advocate for our people to get into the tech sector. You know, one of the classic things about determination is a tool can be used for anything. A knife can be used to hurt people, or it can be used to cut up food for your family for a nice dinner. It lies within the intent of the holder. And AI is just like that, but to a massive degree. So if you allow one of the most powerful tools ever in human history that dwarfs even the steam engine, and I know that sounds rather strong, but I really believe that, we can't let that fall into the hands of only our adversaries. And if you look at the left-leaning policies, if you look at the totalitarian policies of some of these multinationals that want to push towards control, BlackRock, Palantir, OpenAI, they're not necessarily bad. I can't in good faith say that as a reasonable person, but what I can say is we, the people, need to be their accountability.
Right.
We organizing using the tools that they are now testing on us. It's just like Orwell said, it is you, it's up to you to prevent that dark future.
You're absolutely right. I love it. I love to hear you say that, because I have lots of friends on social media that are absolutely terrified of this technology. And I understand from where they're coming from. But at the same token, it's like we have to step into our power seat, our role, we the people. It's our civic duty. And I mean, it sounds cliche to say that, but it can't be more plainly spoken than in the Constitution, which is this, you know, thin, teeny little document here. It takes you about 20 minutes to read it. It's not complicated. It's in English. There's no legal fiction. And it starts out very, very clearly, we the people. And so we're the government. So what you're advocating is, and again, you are making it even more appetizing, like you said in the beginning of the show. Hey, we're here to help you acquire a home for next to nothing, for very inexpensive. And by the way, let's look at property in the pathway, in the work pathway of a new stand-up, you know, construction building of artificial intelligence, computer processing, or an Amazon or whatever. This is where the future is going, and you can either fight it and not capitalize on it, or you can embrace it and then have some ownership and some stakes, some equity in there, so that perhaps you can control it and keep it for good, as opposed to allowing the corporate behemoths use it to take over our sovereignty, which is clearly what they're trying to do, which is what I saw evidence of in this big, beautiful bill. There were some paragraphs in there that are very alarming. And frankly, Adam, they're repugnant to the Constitution. So law that is flying in the face of our Constitution needs to be stricken. It should not be followed because it's repugnant to what our country is based upon. And so I don't really fear that anymore. I want to work with people like you that understand how to use these tools to go and find those little black pearls, and let's call it out and say, you know what, that's not legitimate. I know the bill passed, but we're gonna have to revise this bill and get rid of it. And you got to build the consensus. And remember, Nancy Pelosi said it best, right? We have to pass it before we can read it and find out what's in it. Well, that 3 martinis Pelosi idea is out the window because you're presenting a very sophisticated way to circumvent that, which is using the very system that they want to enslave us with. I think it's brilliant.
Thank you so much, Ann. Like I said before, I love teaching and talking about the mechanisms of control and the psychology behind it. You know, I think it's not a coincidence that as we've watched our nation decay, you've watched the family unit decay, you've watched narcissism and toxic family dynamics spread all throughout our communities, the way they're built and structured even. And this control that people have and the tendency towards doom and gloom and the negativity, it's frankly un-American. And I have to say that in the strongest, most terms. You look at where we came from. You look at the very close of the Declaration of Independence. Those people pledged their lives and their sacred honor, their fortunes to each other, to the cause. I think you're back against the wall. I think you facing impossible odds are what make those words spring to life every few centuries. That's part of the genius of our founders. You know, in good times, they're pretty words, they're nice words, but in terrible times, they are the sword and shield that you can pick up to use to defend yourself.
Adam, boy, we are like cut from the same cloth. You are a kindred spirit. You're my spirit animal standing out there in a suit and tie. I don't know. How hot is it in DC right now? Are you dying?
Oh, it's hot, Ann.
Take off your jacket, man. It's cool. I mean, look, I'm in a t-shirt today. It's Friday. I've got my we don't consent, we don't comply t-shirt on today. It's Friday, so get yourself comfortable. I mean, take your jacket off. I feel terrible. You're standing out there sweating in a suit. It's not fun. Been there, done that. So, all right. So, looking forward, I want to talk about J6ers right now. I spent 6 hours yesterday, 6+ hours yesterday with Jennifer Hicks and Jeremy Brown. And we talked about a lot. I got a lot of the backstory on, what happened the last, year while he was in prison, what happened after the pardons were issued. And I got to look back into his career in special forces in the intelligence world. And what I learned about his connectivity to some very big scandals that were not of his making, by the way. He was there to help, was really rather alarming in the sense that I got this epiphany and aha moment of, oh my gosh, now I understand why nobody wants to talk to Jeremy Brown, least of all anybody from the government, or even some of the biggest podcasters want to bring him on. And it's because of, I believe, what, he was involved in, not because he was part of the problem. He was part of the solution, unwittingly a solution that, frankly, was treasonous for the government to engage upon. So, and he has a lot of information about that. And I really feel like they're persecuting him over that. How do you reconcile what's happening to some of the J6ers that are still incarcerated today? Take Daniel Ball, for instance, on the fruit of the poisonous tree gun charge.
I think it's a tragedy, but I think it has a purpose behind it. So what has been elevated, I'm going to speak frankly here, and some people might not like it, but this is my community. I'm a part of it. I help people in it. We've been beset by problems, by infighting, by friction in the J6 community at times. We've done some incredible things, some beautiful things, but we've also had our own problems. And I think our enemies like to elevate those problems so that they can defame and smear us and prevent people who have no criminal record, people who have a good family background, people who have centrist platforms, people who would be great candidates for political office. They've got to find some way that they can knock those people out of the running before they even start to defame them and to dismantle any hope of a candidacy. Because you have passionate people that were persecuted by their government, people that really suffered. This is absolutely real for them. And they would fight to the last man, politically, of course. But I think by elevating some of the problems it prevents those things. So we have to support guys like Jeremy Brown. We have to lift up members of our community that have serious contentions for political office that could really change something. We want to elevate those voices. I know I do, at least.
That's fantastic. I couldn't agree with you more on wanting to elevate those voices because, unfortunately, what's happened to Jeremy is his voice has been fairly stifled. Oddly enough, I find it incredible that they would, look at somebody who's a Green Beret who has served his country, who he has approved that the FBI tried to drag him in and make him a confidential human source to spy on other groups before January 6th ever happened, and that it was discovered that they knew something was going to happen on January 6th. So you can see the setup. This is one of the reasons why the government is just trying to make him go away. I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but if I'm him, I'm looking over my shoulder all the time, and I hope he gets all his rights restored because he should be protecting himself. I mean, we're living in a very, twilight zone kind of a world right now where you don't know who's who in the zoo anymore, Adam. And the only way to tell is by the works that people are doing. And frankly, someone like yourself, who is literally very intelligent, can go get a job making a lot of money. The fact that you choose to do what you're doing shows you were invested, just like our brothers in arms 250 years ago, who pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to each other, so that in posterity we can look back and stand on their shoulders and try to preserve that going forward. You have got something out in the ethos in the marketplace right now. You've got a book out, and I do want to highlight that because I think that's deserved of being seen and heard from. Tell us a little bit about your book that you've got coming out now called Capital Punishment.
Absolutely, and so I just saw something up on the screen that made me laugh, and it made me want to highlight something real quick.
What's that?
You're over the target if you get a lot of flack. So that picture that got put up before, that's being widely distributed on the internet. It's a different title than my book, so that when you go look up my book, you can't buy it. That's not
Right.
a picture of me. I didn't make that. Somebody
Right.
from Antifa made that.
Yep.
And my wife and I have had these attacks like this on us. The more that we're in Congress, the more that we're speaking out about actual issues, we've had them mess with both of us. And it just goes to show that we're not going to quit. It doesn't bother us. And it's something I think it just inspires people to support us more. So I would love to talk about the book. I decided that I wanted to have a story so that people could share in the experience. I tried to write it in a very raw, emotional way that talked about how we felt. And, that's it. I wanted people to feel like what it feels to be hunted by your own government. To try to go as an investigative reporter to January 6th and document some of the systemic abuse from police and government overreach, and then to be hunted like an animal for 4 years. I think if more people knew what that felt like, then they would say, hey, maybe that could happen to me. Maybe I should get more active. Maybe if it's something as simple as voting with my dollar once a week, I too could have a great impact on the country.
Well, Adam, if people aren't interested in your story, then it just tells me they're not interested in America. And I got to tell you, I've talked to a lot of J6ers, but what I see you doing, every J6er that's taken up the mantle of trying to help other J6ers gets an A+ in my book. I think you've taken it next level, though, with really, trying to get these roofs over people's heads, showing them how to learn how to use the very system that was weaponized against them and turn it around for good, so that it's for their benefit and not to their detriment. And for that, I applaud you. And I would encourage anybody to get this book, Capital Punishment, a J6 fugitive story, because I think this is probably it's either ready for a made-for-TV movie or something on the big silver screen. And I hope we get to see that. I hope we get to see your story put up on the screen along with a lot of other J6 stories, because truly, America needs to look at what happened to you, what happened to all the J6ers and anybody that was persecuted by the federal government, so that in the future we never repeat this mistake again. And it's going to be through stories like yours where it's resiliency, it's coming back like a phoenix out of the ashes and doing more to help others. And I appreciate what you're doing big time. I know we're getting close here on time. What is it you want to make sure my audience understands is a big takeaway for you, Adam?
I want you to see this as a time of our greatest hope. there's so many black pills out there, and people say this is doom and gloom. Look what's going on. Look at the administration. Look at geopolitics. It's all just getting worse. At no time in human history have the forces that have tried to undermine this nation been more exposed. I want your audience to think about that.
Right.
If you just get out there and talk to each other, talk to everyone, talk to your pastor, talk to your teachers, talk to your janitor and your garbage men. If you can all talk about things like we used to do, then we have a buzz. That becomes a great shield. That becomes bulletproof. If people feel that they have communal harmony over a topic, they feel much more inclined to speak out and to take action.
I love that. I love that. Adam Villarreal, thank you so much. And please thank your wife for, taking this journey with you and supporting you along the way, and to your family members who were there for you and your friends. I know you had a lot of people in the J6 community. It was like the Underground Railroad trying to protect you and give you a place to stay. I wish I could have been one of the stops along the way for you and your wife. I would have happily opened my home for what you went through. But I don't believe that the J6 community is forgotten. I'm going to make sure it's not. I'm working on a piece for Daniel Ball right now to try and continue the visibility there. There's been some recent developments in his case. Again, he has been put back in prison during the Trump administration using fruit of the poisonous tree, which is completely insane. He should be pardoned immediately and released. So we got to get some noise going to help bring a spotlight back to him. Hopefully Eagle Ed Martin over there in the U.S. attorney who's focusing on pardons and weaponization of the government can actually facilitate that, along with President Trump, who needs to sign off on it. Because why do we want to give these demons another bone, another win with taking one of us down the path of ill repute and leaving them to languish in prison until God knows when? Doesn't need to happen.
Absolutely.
All right, Adam, where can folks follow you?
So you can follow me on X. Just look up Adam and Beth Villarreal on X, and I'll pop right up. Or you can head over to our website, homelandhousefoundation.com, or check out the book. One thing I just want to shout out my wife. She's the best human being I've ever met. Baby, I love you. And I'm lucky every day that you decided to do this with me.
That's amazing. I just want to get your website up, or your X profile up here on the silver screen so people can see it. If it's going to let me. There we go. Let's get it nice and big so everybody can see it. Adam and Beth Villarreal on X. It's at Beth Coogan 6255 at Beth Coogan, but you can just look up Adam and Beth Villarreal. And yes, your partner is something special, because I know what you went through was a lot, and it's a lot to expect of anybody to go on a journey such as the one you've been on. But what did I say, for better or for worse, right, Adam?
Well, I'm trying to work hard as I can to make something of myself and do it proud.
Oh, I think you're already doing that. I'm very proud of you and what you are achieving. And I know your wife is at your side facilitating as well. So thank you so much to the both of you for your sacrifice and for your love of country. It's a rare day to meet, and rare air to meet patriots like you. Thank you so much. Go get cool somewhere quickly.
Thank you so much. And we love your show. We just wanted to let you know.
Oh, thank you. God bless you, Adam. Take care.
God bless.
All right. Just amazing. What a great guy. I mean, it's so refreshing to meet people like that and be able to talk with them. The first time I recall really getting a chance to speak with him was when we held a press conference outside the Department of Justice a few months ago on behalf of American Made Action, where we basically brought thunder to Child Protective Services. And we've got an incredible crack team of attorneys. And we are building one hella case against the Department of Children and Families in Massachusetts. And it's taking us a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money. So if you can support us on that endeavor, we would appreciate it. We're also building a lawsuit against what they're doing to our skies as well. And that is also, I think, the position that we're taking and the direction that we're going with our legal action is actually a lawful cause of action. I'm just going to leave that out there hanging like a dangling participle. I think you'll find that really of big interest. Because again, nobody's coming at the problem the way we are, and we're going to swarm them. We're using 5th generation warfare the way they did us dirty on J6. Well, guess what? If they're going to have these tools out there for them to use, turnaround is fair play, and we're going to use it on them, and we're going to stick it where the sun don't shine, because these people are demons, and what they did to good lawful Americans who trespassed into the Capitol, big deal to get sentenced even when you weren't there, like Enrique Tarrio for 20 plus years. Are you kidding me? Come on, as Joe Biden would say, come on, man. So anyhow, thanks as always for popping in here and joining me. I think we're going to do a stream tomorrow night. We've got a big press conference that's going to be held in Japan. I did a stream last night with the great Misako Ganaha live from Japan. We talked about the COVID shots, their economy, and wouldn't you know, another Western bank country is in the same similar peril that we are. And so they've been fighting come hell or high water, where they started launching these self-amplified RNA vaccines that just, once you're jabbed, it spreads to the next person and the next person. You don't even have to jab everybody. It just amplifies and goes everywhere. And so the amount of adverse events on that shot versus the other COVID shots is exponentially worse. And she showed that data last night. So if you want to go, you can go to my Rumble channel, or you can go on my X and go scroll backwards in the timeline to last night. We were live at 8:00. Anyhow, appreciate all of you, what you do, and God bless you. I'm going to just play us out here with just a thank you commercial from our sponsors that actually help fund the travel that I do. And I only promote stuff, folks, that I would use. So if you're not into gold, don't pay attention. I am, and boy, am I glad that I am, because as of late, gold is on a tear, and all of the gold bugs, banks included, the JP Morgans of the world and Jamie Dimons of the world, and other major people who are gold investors are talking about, well, gold 4,000. Yeah, that's almost yesterday. We're looking at gold 5,000 now. And the price of gold today is about 3,400. So they're already anticipating blowing past 4,000 and going to $5,000 an ounce. So there's still time to convert your IRA or your Roth IRA or your 401k into gold and capitalize on the upside of what gold is doing. And remember, countries around the world are stockpiling it like crazy. The BRICS countries, which represent the majority of the trading bloc around the world, ultimately are settling all of their trade imbalances in gold. So if Brazil and Russia are trading wheat and whatever, oil, guess what? If somebody owes somebody money, they're now paying them in gold. That's how it's going to go. And the sooner we can come to that realization and stop thinking that the Federal Reserve is going to do something in the end to save us, the better, because all the Fed's doing is just burning us down and forcing us into wars and getting us to submit. Look, we just sent more money to Israel and Ukraine. Are you kidding? Hello? Have you looked in the downtown Minneapolis or downtown St. Louis, or have you driven through downtown Houston or even downtown Miami? It's not pretty, folks. Our country's in a bad way. So just saying. All right, you guys, have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next time. This election is filled with promises of tax cuts that will go nowhere. But don't let this excess noise blind you to what's really at stake, your retirement. As economic volatility continues to grow, few are talking about the consequence that could ripple through your retirement savings. Many wealthy investors have started preparing for the shockwave ahead. Have you? If you have $50,000 or more saved for retirement, click the link below or call 1-888-782-9064 and secure your free guide to gold IRAs from Augusta Precious Metals. Again, click the link below or call 1-888-782-9064.